Welcome to part 4 of the procedural animation tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to go through rendering out images using the Karma renderer and testing. Doing a couple of tests because I have actually found with the lighting when I did this one that the lighting is too bright, so we will adjust the lighting and do a bit of a test, and then adjust the lighting again and do a bit more of a test for rendering out. Okay, so let's dive in. The first thing we need that we need to do is we're just going to go up here to Object, and we're going to right click, and it's got Other Networks. Just right here at the top, Other Networks, we're going down to the Out. Okay, the Out network. So this is where Houdini will talk with the renderer to create the images. But what we need is we need a Karma node. So we're going to just either tab or right click, and we're going to type in Karma. Start typing in Karma, and it will bring up Karma. We're going to drop that in there. Now, the first thing we're going to do is Karma actually has what they call an XPU renderer. Depending on your graphics card, is whether or not you can use this. It works best with NVIDIA graphics cards. I know it does not work with AMD graphics cards. But it's all about testing. If it throws an error, you're going to have to use CPU. The XPU is a lot faster. It's like it's sort of a combination of CPU and GPU, mostly using GPU, which is a lot faster means of rendering out. So that is the first thing we're going to do. So up here, we're going to go into XPU parameters. Depending also on the power of your machine, is how many samples. I usually have, with my machine, around about 64 samples. The next thing we're going to go into is camera effects. Okay, and we're just going to scroll down a little bit here. Now, for this particular one, after experimentation, I actually took the motion blur off. It seemed to produce a little bit better of a visually pleasing animation. Now, we're then going to go into image output, and then under here there is filters. We're going to click on filters, and we're going to select the NVIDIA Optics denoiser. Okay, so that's going to take out any noise due to rendering. The higher the path trace samples, the less noise you will get, but the longer the render will to take. Okay, so the denoiser will actually, calculate and take out the noise, creating a nice smooth image when you render out. So that is that set up. Now, what we're going to do with the current lighting settings, we're just going to go and make sure this is a render current frame, and we're just going to render this out to mplate. So while that's rendering, it does take a little while for the initial render to come up. So bear with me. The initial calculation on my computer does take a little while. Okay, there we go. Now, as you can see, the render, we've got, it's blown out here in the environment light, and those point lights aren't exactly the type of thing that we're looking to produce. So we can just close mplay. And we're just going to go back into the object mode. So we just left click on out, sort of just to the side of out, and we're going to go back to object or geometry level. And we're going to do a few adjustments here. The first one we will start with is the environment light. Okay, so we've got the light intensity set up to 2.88. That is way too high, obviously, for this render, so we're just going to drop that down to 1. It's still looking a little blown out there, so we're going to drop down the exposure to -1. Okay, and we've got a much better background, and you can actually start to see the object there now. So that's you know, just to play around with. Now these point lights are creating a little bit too much of a hassle, and I've just adjusted a couple of things. So on point light 1, we're going to work on the X translate. So we're just going to go to -0.125361 and hit enter. It's going to move it out a little bit. Okay, point light 2, we're going to adjust the Z to 0.209094. Just minor adjustments to get it looking good. And then point light 3, we're going to go back to the X, and it is 0.156093, and we're going to hit enter. Okay, that's going to adjust things a little bit better. Now we're going to go back into the out, back into the Karma renderer, and we're just going to do a bit of a test render to see how it looks. So again, it's going to take just a little while to come up. Bear with me. Okay, now we're getting a little bit of a better look from this. Now we're seeing color and everything through here. We possibly could adjust one of these a little bit more. So play around with that. You know, for the purposes of the tutorial, I might just adjust these a little bit more. Yeah, play around with the lighting. It's all about, you know, testing your lighting, rendering a test frame out, test it again, render it out, just to see what we can come up with. Okay, this one here at the moment, you know, we probably could do a bit more of an adjustment, but play around with it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I might just go back into the object, and let's have a look. It would probably be point light 2 that might be causing... No, it'll be point light 3. You can actually see in here we've got the arrows here. We can... Let's see what happens when we just pull this out a bit more. So it's all about, you know, playing around with things. Pull it out a bit more. Let's see what happens. Let's bring that out here a bit more. So it's now into the -0.2s. Let's see what happens when we've got it sort of sitting there somewhere. Go back into the out. This does take a little while. Render it out to mplay again. And this time what I might do is, once it's rendered out, I'll just put mplay across to the side off screen, and then bring it back in when things are rendered out better. Okay, there we go. Now we've got a bit more of a bit more. We could probably work on this one up here too, and increase the intensity on the lights. for that one up there. So that's point light 1, I think it is. So we go back in. Now, what I'll do, I will go ahead and adjust these and get them looking possibly a little bit better. So it is about sort of playing around with things, and then I'll come back in on another part so that we can render the images out. Okay, after some experimentation, I found out that it was the material that we needed to adjust. This is all a part of experimenting with when rendering out. So what I've done is we'll dive into the procedural animation geometry here. And we'll go into the material network. Now what I have done here is I've turned the base color all the way up. I've plugged in the base color from the geometry color, and I've actually put in a metalness of 0.268. Now I think I did also increase the lighting and moved the point lighting, but so with that, I'm pretty sure I may have, yes, point light 2, I've actually increased the intensity up to 0.3, and also 0.3 for point light 3, and I think I also did do the transform. Yes, I did on point light 1. It is now this value up here. Feel free to pause here, obviously, to input whatever you need to re-input. I think that was the only one that I adjusted. Just pause on each one of these and double check the numbers against yours and mine. Or, as I said, you can experiment if you're happy with where they are for each one of these. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to go into the out, and we'll just do a quick test render just to show you what it will look like. Again, it takes a little while for mine to. Here it's rendering out, and it does look better. We've got some nice reflection, we've got some nice color, you know, and as this animates, the colors will sort of have really cool reflections and everything on them. So that is now ready to be rendered out. Now what we're going to do to render this out, we're actually going to change this up here to render frame range from frame 1 to frame 240. So we will leave that because we want to render the whole thing. Now in here we have an output output hip name dot string os dot f4 dot exr. We are going to change this. First of all, we're going to change the directory. So what we will do, we will go through to where you created your project. This is why I got you to do things at the top, and we're going to put it into render. Okay, so we're going to put it in there. We're going to accept that. Okay. Let me just bring that back up. Let me go back to here. We're going to go accept. All right, the easiest way. If it doesn't do that, we'll go into here. We will highlight this and we will copy and paste it. So Control V, Control C, and then to this area here. We're going to, just before this part, So we still want that other part there, just to there. Control V. And then what we are going to do, instead of having $hipname and .os and $F4, what we're going to do here, we're just going to type in my anim underscore $F4. Now what that does, it puts a buffer of 3 zeros in front of the thing, because when you go to put together a video or something like that, if you only have the amount that it's going to be, it can cause confusion where it will line up. Sometimes you'll go like it'll line up all your ones, so it'll go 1 then 10, and then 100, because of the numerical way. Sometimes it confuses a computer. So if we put that buffer of the zeros, it will always go in proper order. And instead of an EXR file, we're going to JPEG that file. Okay, now this will take a little while, so I will be back once this is rendered out, but we're going to render it to mplay. And this will take a little bit of time. We're just going to pop this over here. As you can see, it's starting to render the frames. It will take a good amount of time. So I will be back once they're all rendered out. And we will continue on with rendering out the images and doing the video. Now that we have rendered out to mplay, all our images are stored. We will just check just to make sure it looks good, and we're happy with the render. I'm pretty happy with this one. So what we need to do now is we just need to save out the images to get them ready to be created into a video. The way we're going to do this is we're going to go up here, just up here, and we're going to click on File, and then we're going to go Save Sequence As. Okay, this one here, because we have a sequence of images that go from 1 to 240, we need to have the whole sequence to make the video. So we're just going to click on Save Sequence As. Now, what we need to do, we need to direct this in a manner so that we can actually find it for when we take it across to Media Encoder. So just here, we're going to click on that. Now, this little folder here called Job is obviously your project that you have set up when you first started doing this. So if we click on Job, and then what we're going to do, we're going to put it into, we're just going to scroll down and pop it in here into Render. So in here, we're going to pop it, and we're just going to click on that, and we're going to go actually what we might do, we might go in here and we'll do a new folder, and we'll name this Procedural Anim. Might be a little better of housekeeping, because one project can contain many scenes. So we'll do that, and we're inside Procedural Anim there, and we're just going to hit Accept. But up here, what we need to do is just scroll through a little bit further, and it's this bit here where it says Untitled $f.pic. We want to change the Untitled to my anim, short for animation. And the $F, just click just past it before the full stop there and add the 4. It creates that buffer so that when you're creating an image sequence, it lines up correctly. It's just a safety thing, because sometimes if you don't have those extras, it can cause a bit of confusion on the computer, and then instead of going 1 through to 240, it'll go 1 through to 9, and then it'll jump to 10. It'll put it back at 1, so it can get a little bit confused in some programs. So that'll place the buffer in, and then from here we go down to here, and we want to make these a JPEG. Okay. So this is now going to render out. It's going to save those images into those files, and we just hit save. It does take takes a few seconds, depending on your computer, obviously. So we'll just wait for this, and once it comes up successfully saved, we can go on to the next step of taking it into media encoder. Okay, so it's saying it's completed. 240 files written successfully. We just hit OK, and then what we can do, we can just go to where the render is, and the procedural anim in our render. I can now close and play, and you can see here you got procedural anim, and when we double click and open that, there we go. We have all the files. So in the final part of the tutorial, we're going to import these images into Media Encoder, and we're going to encode a 10 seconds procedural animation that we have created with this tutorial. See you in the next parts.